All right, good morning. We have a full contingent this morning with our council. There's no members of the public, but we are recording for the sake of keeping this record. And so this morning, we're gathered for, I called it the council retreat, but essentially we want to carry on what we started last year, which was kind of a strategic plan to determine our goals, values, objectives, and this is kind of the next step. So I do have somebody that I arranged to have facilitate for us this morning. Unfortunately, she is very ill, and she took the time, even though she's ill, to record some video segments, and it's still going to kind of guide us through today. But this is a working workshop. We're going to be doing things in groups and different things. So we'll take some breaks along the way. I have a fresh pot of coffee. I'll make another one when we need, if y'all need. And but the goal is to think in terms of the next 1 to 2 years for the city of Gold Hill. And really, it's a great opportunity for you as a council to be engaged and aware in directing the work that my staff and I will be carrying forward. So I'm going to start with our first video, and we'll go from there through just kind of guiding through the day. So is everybody ready to go? Yeah. Awesome.
Chrissy Finley, and I will be working with you virtually today or through a couple of short snippets of videos. It is my honor that I get the opportunity to assist your city and helping them accomplish some goals. Now, you all have already set out some goals that I recognize were designed about a year ago, and so you have a great springboard to jump from. I have to first say that I've enjoyed getting to know Lily. You have a really qualified city administrator who is leading you in a very positive direction. And I recognize with Lily, she's a great collaborator. And I have enjoyed getting to know her in the couple of weeks that we've been interacting. I apologize, I won't be able to be there in person or even live. I have been struggling with a bad germ, and for some reason it's just, this will not be a perfect video, so I apologize. I'm not as polished maybe as I typically would be, but I recommended to Lily trying this format so that we could continue to move forward in helping City of Gold Hill on your tasks and initiatives and making some great progress. And again, I apologize, this might not be as polished, but I am looking forward to the opportunity of sharing some material with you. Let me go ahead and open up my slideshow and share this. I want to be able to share a little bit about me so that you have the opportunity to know who I am, where I'm coming from. And I am so glad that you are here. You are going to have a great day, even though I won't be there personally live and in person. I'm looking forward to hearing what you all process, and really I will have an opportunity to debrief and share afterwards in the coming days. A little bit about who I am. Again, as I already mentioned, my name is Chrissy Finley. This is my family. I have my husband and I, parent 3 really awesome, busy boys, and they keep us on our toes. They all enjoy baseball, and my husband also enjoys baseball. I have learned to enjoy baseball, and I now actually really love the game. Initially, I didn't know that much. I grew up in a football family, and so when I married my husband, I knew that I quickly needed to acclimate, and in that we've been blessed with 3 boys who also really enjoy and love the game. But let's be honest, sometimes I really feel like this. In the previous picture here, we're all kind of, pulled together and smiling and doing good. In this picture, it's a moment of where life happens. And sometimes I recognize that we just have that life happens. Right now, I feel this is more accurate to me how I feel. This picture actually was just a moment that was taken of Fridays. For this school year, I chose to long-term sub in a 4th grade class to help a teacher out, and had dismissed everybody for the Caroline pickup, and the torrential downpour happened, and I was caught off guard, and everybody got home safely. The priority was that everybody got to where they needed to be and was safe, but yet in the midst of that, I was completely drenched. So I'm not a perfect person. I'm a person in process. And while, yes, I have a lot of variety of professional experiences that I love to be able to share and lead and teach about, I am also very much a human and learning in all processes. I grew up on the Southern Oregon coast. If you're familiar with this frame, this is Sunset Bay Beach, one of my favorite places in the whole entire world. And I grew up in Coos Bay, North Bend area. And being a Southern Oregon coast girl, I absolutely love going to the coast. This is an area that was back behind, it's the woods behind where I had grown up. Actually, this area was all just recently harvested, which is a bit of a heartbreak, but being a true Oregonian, recognizing that there's renewable resources all around us, I am fully supportive of that. And in the process, though, I love this moment because it's a picture I just captured in time of what a gift it is to grow up in such a beautiful place. I am a 5th generation Oregonian, and I recognize that it is just such a gift to grow up in such a beautiful place. And I love to share it with my children. My husband and I, we do whenever I am visiting family back in the Coos Bay area. You know, we spend a lot of time outdoors. That is such a gift. I love to watch things grow. I am a gardener, and excuse me. And I do appreciate the value of that it takes time for beauty and for fruit to come from something so small like a seed. And I see that in the work that I do as an educator. I see that in the work that I do with teams and organizations, that it takes time to watch beautiful and productive and cool things grow. A little bit of my work history is that currently I'm employed by George Fox University. I'm a part-time professor or an adjunct professor, and I love teaching courses. I have done that for approximately, it was 20 years this term, and I've done that off and on, I should say, for the majority of 20 years. I've also worked with Providence Health Systems. In the Newburgh area, we used to have a program that worked with families of children with special needs, and I got to help coordinate that for a few years. It was a fantastic, amazing opportunity. I have worked for it's the Trailblazer organization, but the wing of WNBA women's basketball. So that was almost 20 years ago that I was there working primarily within PR, but we were such a small staff. We did a lot of things, and I got to do a lot of really cool things. It's fun because a lot of my students often ask me questions about this period of my life from 20 years ago. But in the midst of that, yes, I do also have my own business, which does teamwork, management, consultation, leadership development, goal setting, like what we're doing today, all those sorts of things. That is part of what I currently do. I've worked with a lot of small family-owned businesses. I've worked with nonprofits and organizations and helping them in their growth and their goals and helping them with their organizational structure and productivity. So my role as a human is I would love to be able to cheer people and organizations onto what is their next best steps. And I find that I would continue to just have opportunities that unfold in front of me. And I'm thankful for that. I did my very first job was I started off at South Coast Office Supply. My family started that business over 4 years ago and recently sold a couple years ago. They service the Southern Oregon coast and Southern Oregon region, actually. And in that, I started off learning how to do accounts payable and accounts receivable. while sitting next to my grandmother. And I learned customer service. I just learned so much about business by growing up in a family business. And I forever treasure those lessons. And honestly, that's kind of what built into me of becoming a business owner, as well as teaching business and teaching valuable skills and wanting to help other organizations. So one of the things I love to always say is that, and even in any classroom that I'm leading, it's important to lay some ground rules and some expectations. While I am not with you there in person today, I would say I would encourage you to continue to foster these things as you process them, as you share. Number one is always respect. Please respect what everybody has to offer, what they have to say. It's being shared from an authentic place, and just in the same way that you would have something that you to have valued and heard, please share that, or please allow others to share that. Bring your best self. I recognize that you probably have a lot of to-do list things. Excuse me, on your mind and on your heart. That is all very valid. But for the short period of time that you're together today, set that to-do list behind and allow yourself to just be present with each other and brainstorming. I also always ask that you would set aside technology. I recognize that phones have become almost like actually phones or computers or other points of technology become like these appendages. There's so much a part of us, and that is real. So if you could please mute and silence your phone today before we move into the next phase of our group process, that would be fabulous. And again, be open to learning together, working hard, and having fun. I recognize that for you as a council, you all will have an established period of time of working together, problem solving, and making decisions that better your community. And the more that you can be each your unique selves and bring that about respecting each other, but also learning together, working hard together, and having fun together, you will make even better decisions. And the bottom line is just keep it real, keeping it fun. That is kind of my motto for the classroom, or for any time that I'm working with a team of people and coaching an organization or in any opportunity. So I hope that today, through the couple hours that you have together, that you can look to, again, keep it real and authentic, that you can have some fun together. In a minute, we're going to break off into, you'll stop this video, and then you will do some team stuff. But there's two things that I would like to have you accomplish in that time. One of it is I would love for Lily to reiterate just the rules of operation. I understand that you just recently redid your charter. Excuse me, I need to drink a water. You just did your charter. And that is fantastic. That is a lot of hard work. So I say good job. That helps with just knowing how your city functions. It will be a safeguard for all of you, and it will also help with productivity for your council, for your staff, for your community. But for today, I asked Lily to just be willing to reiterate the roles of her role as city administrator, your role as city council, as well as if any staff members are present, possibly just reiterating the staff roles. And it doesn't have to be feel as formal, but the reality of just reminding everybody that when we operate within our roles, we can function best as a team. And then the second part that I would love for you to do is, before we get into all the hard work, is to take a few minutes as a team, sitting around a table or circle and being able to share a little bit about yourself. One is, please share your name. Please share how long you've lived within Gold Hill. And I always think it's really fun to hear, especially working with city councils, what is your favorite location about your community, something that you love to share or that you would recommend. So if I was to come into your community, what would you say to me, Chrissy, oh, you've got to check out this place, or oh, this is a really unique thing about Gold Hill, or this is kind of a hidden treasure. I know for me, I live in the Newburgh area, and I know exactly what places for us. We have several restaurants, but I also know what park I would recommend. I know what drive I would recommend. So I would just encourage you to highlight one or two different elements of your community that you would recommend to me and to anybody else who's visiting. And then last but not least, please share what inspired you to run for city council. Each one of you has a reason for why you stepped into this role. my hunch is it's not glamorous, but you have some heart for and reasoning for why you're serving in this capacity. And I think it's important to be able to articulate that for yourself, but also to be able to articulate it to your council and to your team of people. This is what inspired me to run for city council, and this is why I'm here. So again, now would be a great time to pause the video. Feel free to look back at this slide as well as reiterating what the roles are. And I will see you in the next video. We'll be talking about, let's see if I can get my video to stop here. We'll be taking a minute to talk about also setting you up for your goal session. Okay, thank you. And I will see you.
Some of you have lived here a long time. Some of you have known each other a long time. But with new elections, new year, and just life changes, we might not be in the same place we used to be. And so I'm going to ask each of us to go around and answer the questions that she's asked. And it helps us further develop as a team, as a council, as you guys work together when you know more about each other and maybe something that you didn't know about each other before. Anyhow, if you guys would be willing, I'll leave that up there on the screen so you can see it. Unless you'd like me to switch the camera so when the playback, they can see who's talking. But anyhow, so why don't we just work our way around the room if you like? Should I put, all right, go ahead. Malia, why don't we start with you because you are our council president.
Boy, thanks.
You might have to turn the mics on and move them closer though for TV.
I just turned it on. Can you hear me? Get it close enough? Okay, well, my name is Malia Beachide. I moved to Gold Hill area in September of '99. We moved here from Montana. I've been in Montana 20 years, and then I grew up 20 years before that in Utah. So I'm kind of a Western gal, and I always favored small towns. And when we moved to Southern Oregon, we originally rented a place in Medford, and we quickly figured out we were going to live in Medford. And so I started haunting the back roads of Jackson County and drove into Gold Hill and went, wow, I feel like I'm right back in Montana in the 60s. And I really liked that vibe, and I loved this town. It's right there. To go boat our kids and canoes on rivers. And raised our kids in boats, and our son's a guide, a river guide. So we still feel really, connected to the river. Let's see, did I say too much? So anyway, we rented a house in Giles Creek because we knew that the house that we eventually bought where we live now was going to come on the market the following spring. And so we didn't want to change school districts for the kids. We had teenagers at the time. So we rented up on Giles Creek, and then in the spring, the house here on Ambrose Street came up for sale, and we bought it. Moved in on Mother's Day. It rained all day. I cried all day. But it was a great place to finish raising our kids, and within a year, my mom had relocated from Montana to live here. She lived in a home in Medford. She wanted to get out of the snow. So anyway, we've been here 25 years now. And for the first 20 years, I was really busy raising teenagers, taking care of my mom, full-time job, other volunteer things going on. And then I retired at the height, right at the beginning of COVID. And a thing I know about myself is if I'm not busy, I get bored and then I get depressed. And so I've also been watching the situation here for 20 years in City Hall and realized that it really needed some consistency. It needed somebody to stay on board for a while and try to keep things moving in a positive direction. So anyway, I ran actually I was appointed first and I ran for city council in 2020. So that's kind of what inspired me to run for city council. My favorite location in Gold Hill that I would recommend to others would be probably the sports park up by the Tillamook Falls. Pull in there at that, pull out there the parking lot below and check out the falls and walk the path if you're so inclined. I think it's a beautiful spot. Thank you.
I'm gonna skip on the line, we'll go to the council. And or sandwich, if that's okay. So Rick, why don't we go to you?
Name's Rick Martin. Can you hear me fine? Not that well? Okay. Uh, we, we moved here in 59 and, 1980. I moved to White City when I got married and I came back about 7 years. So about 28 years I lived in Gold Hill. My favorite place is the river, of course. I just love the smell of it at night, hot summer nights, and then I just enjoy being in that river. As kids, we stop at John Day and jump on a tube and float down and did a lot of crazy stuff, but it was the best childhood you could have. But it inspired me to run is I guess it's integrity for this town. It seemed like at the time it wasn't doing that well, so someone asked me to run, and so I ran. And thank you, Jerry, and enjoy this town very well.
Name's Joe Bergren. Been living in Gold Hill for the past 4 years. Before that, my mother-in-law lived here for 30. The places in Gold Hill, there's food park, there's a bike path down there. I see they have frisbee down there and just fun up around. I lived in Medford and I've grown up over there. We'd come over here and see the ropes and not the trip. I liked the rope swing on the bridge when I was younger. Couple friends jumped off top of that thing, me included. What inspired me to get on the city council? When we moved here, we'd come down to city council meetings and we'd watch the meetings. It seemed like there wasn't a lot of common sense at the time that was happening. It was really kind of like a battle between people and it wasn't a cohesive council. And I thought maybe I could sit there and bring a calming part to that, or just common sense. I think we have a great council now. They're moving in the right direction, and that's what I wanted to see when I ran. So.
Jerry Stancliffe. So I have 3 kids. They're all adults now, but I raised them on my own. And when I was done raising them, simultaneously, my mother needed help with her house and her yard, so I moved directly in with her. And I've been here 15 years. And one of the things that I noticed was how chaotic Gold Hill was, and I couldn't believe some of the things that were going on. And finally, one day I just got fed up and I said, I need to know what's going on in this little town. I love it. And that's what inspired me to be a city councilor. And I walked around and got signatures from house to house, me and my dogs, and here I am. My favorite place in Gold Hill, I think, as I'm an Uber Lyft driver, and when I drive around and talk about where I live, I talk about the food. Cause Becky's, isn't that, or Patty's, yeah. I always get those two confused. Patty's is a excellent home style place to eat, and I talk about the park a lot, and I just basically really love the people here. That's, I think, my favorite thing is the people. I don't know where that list went. I don't know what else I'm supposed to say. I forget. 15 years I've been here. Yeah, okay, I'm done.
Hi, I'm Jerry Frazier. Been here since 17. About 9 years now. Moved here because my wife's family lived up here and her father was dying of cancer. So we moved here to get closer to him, and to find a job, we decided that Gold Hill was a nice starting off spot to choose between Medford and Grants Pass. And we spent enough time here to find out that this is where we belong. Love the town, love the river, love the people. Very low key. I grew up in a small town when I was a kid, so it made sense to me. And so we've been here ever since. my favorite locations, I have a lot of them in this town. Right now, I'm part of the local church and we have a thrift store downtown. I just love being there, meeting all the people coming in and out all the time. So it's one of the places that I love to be, and I encourage people to come down because we got great stuff and we like to share it. Why did I become a counselor? Well, I started to run with Rick the first time, but at the time I didn't have enough time in my life to be a councilman because, you know, apparently one day a month was too much. But I had several people ask me to run again. And so that was one of the reasons. The first time I ran, and it turned out to be the second time I ran, it was also part of it, is because of the condition of our country, not just our city, but the condition of our country. I really wanted to get God back in the government, and I take God with me wherever I go. You guys can take that for whatever you want. And I believe that everything that we establish in our country starts right here in our cities. So if we can get our cities in the right track, our country will follow suit. So that was the reason why I ran.
Well, I'm going to turn it to the mayor so we can hear what inspired him to run. And his meeting and all that kind of stuff.
I'm from the valley, born and raised here. So I've been here 67 years. Lived in Gold Hill since 2016 when I retired out of the military. I went in the military in 1975, retired in 2018. Gives you a little bit of idea where my mind is. What inspired me to get on the council was I came down here during a council meeting and I sit and I just watched the havoc. And at that time, we had certain individuals down here that it was more like a mayor ran government. And I knew enough that that wasn't right. And when they tried to pass something, she didn't like it. So she axed that. So that's what I said, well, I'm gonna shoot for that. Becoming a counselor. Malia knows what I'm talking about. So anyway, over the years, I've been doing this since I've been here. I was a councilman for 6 years, president of that council for those years. And it just going through the people because people in this town seem to have hidden agendas. I don't like that, nor do you. We have a great council. As far as getting things done, we are cohesive. We know what it takes to build a team, and it's taken this long to build what we have now. And so that's in the past. We can't change that. So I say, let's move forward and continue to strive. I'm also at the mindset with Jerry Frazier. I have strong beliefs in God, and that's what I do. I put him first. And you'll see that when the country does that, the country does well. When they don't do that, the country doesn't do that. Same with city government. So anyway, that's what inspired me. I've only been here since 2016. I love this town. I used to hitchhike here when I was a kid, just to jump off the train trestle on the bridge. I think that was a trend back in my day when I was a teenager. And I think that's all I got.
So the Trestle's your favorite location?
No, Gold Hill is my favorite location. That's why I moved here. The city itself, I love this town. You'll see me walking around this town all the time. My wife and I walk our dogs. And I just love going down and talking to people, and especially at our park. When I first came here, that park wasn't used hardly at all. And now, Sports Park or the beach park? The sports park. The beach park's always been pretty active, but sports park, you see nothing. You have pickleball. We have pickleball there now. You see
Busy on weekends when it's sunny.
and it's just great to see. It's just wonderful. So anyway, my hat's off to every one of you guys. You know, we're a team. As long as we keep that hat on we will continue to move forward and do great things with a great city administrator. So thank you.
Cool.
He was talking about you.
I don't know who that is. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I appreciate that. I will tell you, when I first ran for city council in 2010, it was because chaos in my community. And having been born and raised in Grants Pass, Gold Hill is something I've heard about my whole life, of which I turned 50 this year. So that feels like a long time, but it's not. I know I'm still young. But from the standpoint of it still feels like a part of home, even though I live in Grants Pass, I am proud to be a part of Gold Hill and about the legacy that Gold Hill is. And I love history. One of my favorite things, I was going to be a history teacher, and then I took a different path into sociology. And I teased I was a social worker with handcuffs my whole career as a parole and probation officer. But before that, it's my love of history. And this community is ripe with culture and history that is worth acknowledging and celebrating. And some of it is not great, as every community has, because people are involved. But the 130 years this year, that's a pretty big deal. And so I feel grateful to get to be a part of this with you guys. And, within 2.5 years of me being elected on city council, a charter amendment made it through our community there as well. I think the fact that you guys were able to get a charter change through this community, since the last charter was adopted in 1968, was last amended in 1988. That is a huge testament.
With 65% of the vote.
Yeah, it's a huge
That's a
testament to you
landslide when it
guys.
comes to
Absolutely. So I'm grateful that you guys have been really willing to roll up your sleeves and take on some stuff that hasn't been for a while. I will say though, there is always a little bit of a struggle of what's the right balance of what does that mean, and so one of the things we talked about is maybe I just want to highlight a couple things from the charter, and just as a reminder of roles and responsibilities. And one of the neatest things about our charter is it starts with what's the power. The city government, the city itself has all powers that the Constitution, statutes, which are laws and common laws of the U.S. and Oregon, grant or allow our city. And then with that, it's meant to be liberally construed that the city gets to have as much local control as we can. But our authority to operate as a council, as a government, is actually based here in our charter and Oregon law that allows it to happen. And then, the council itself, individually, there isn't authority or power in an individual that serves on the council, but as a body, the power of the city is vested in you as a council as a whole. And as is provided for in this charter and other laws, the exercise and performance of those duties and obligations imposed by the law. We have now a manager, council, form of government. Our mayor presides over the meetings and gets to sign the records as the official name. So in the history of our community, you'll look back at documents and the mayor is who will be the one remembered as, oh, who signed that then? I will tell you, as a historian, I'd love to get a list of who our mayors were at some point, and I don't know how we can do that and just kind of even see that record. That's something that's always fascinated me.
I have a list that goes back to the 70s.
Wow. Well, and I can tell you, when I got to the city or state legislature, I wanted to just know who had served in my seat before me, and not knowing, because at some point Oregon renumbered everything. So my seat at one point would have been seat 49, then it was House District 3. But it was in just wanting to know who came before me that I learned I was the first woman to hold that seat. And I didn't know that till after I was in office. And so sometimes just knowing the history is kind of a neat thing. And of course, the council itself, individually elected, picks one of their own to be council president, to kind of speak on their behalf or fill in for the mayor when the mayor is gone. But there is a neat kind of balance there, that the mayor is individually elected to run things. And then the council's individually elected, but the mayor still is the head of that council. And so their representative, if the mayor is absent, is the council president. So the biggest thing that I would reiterate is it's incumbent upon the council to make sure that the laws are current. And so we can do that through different things. We have the legislative authority to adopt ordinances, but it's also the enforcement of those ordinances and different resolutions and such. And then the probably most important function that a council has that I don't necessarily know is iterated in our charter, but it's passing the budget. That falls under state law, that without a budget, the city cannot function. And so that is, you know, outside of setting the laws and then also having a quasi judicial authority in which you act almost as if you are a judge. You're like the Supreme Court of Gold Hill, because there's multiple ones of you and you're not always going to agree. You can have a split decision and things will still move forward with the majority decision. But the way that the law of our state goes is that in land use laws specifically, citizens in your community can address their governing body and request things or challenge things. And then you have to sit in a different role where you're not just I'm elected, but I'm now acting as the judge. And so they call it a quasi judicial authority. And you make decisions required. And so there may be things that come before you that you have to make tough decisions in that capacity that will benefit some people in the community and maybe not others. And so then you're going to feel like you're a tightrope being pulled in different directions. And honestly, there's things you can disagree with greatly, but then you're forced because of the state or somebody else to rule on something. And it's just a challenge. But that quasi judicial authority is probably one of the most significant things a volunteer elected body can be responsible for, is upholding the law and making those decisions on behalf of those folks. Of course, we're elected, so that means that getting into office and coming out of office is happened through that election, so the people of our community can continue to say who they want to represent them. But then as a council, you get to appoint officers to run the city. And this is the first time this is in the charter, that you have the city manager as the administrative head of the government. So where the responsibility of the mayor and council sets the policies of the city, it's obligation of the city manager to carry out the policies established by the council. And, you know, it's also a very unique thing where the council's influence is over one employee. The responsibility is that manager, but then in the manager's obligation to carry out the policies, hires staff and works with volunteers, carries forth everything else to follow the policy and the ordinances set by the council. And so it's a very interesting thing, because there is times that cities get in conflict with their manager because they maybe don't like a department head, or they maybe don't like how something was done. And they're like, well, you have to get rid of that person. And it's like, that's where that line kind of stops, where the administrative head is the city is the city manager, and how they follow with the policies. If they're in compliance with the policies, the council has done their job, but that can be a frustrating thing. So manager, just to reiterate the things that the charter is saying, the manager, I have to attend all the meetings unless I'm excused by the council. I have asked to be excused before from a meeting and I've been told no, and so I stayed. And it's one of those things that I appreciate the flexibility. We moved the meetings around this month so I could miss one for a conference, but my obligation first and foremost to a city manager's family chagrin is that work has to come first, and you attend those meetings. I'm obligated to make reports and recommendations to you guys about the needs of the city. And to administer and enforce all the city's ordinances, resolutions, franchises, leases, contracts, grants, permits, and other city decisions. So my job in and of itself is to enforce the rules that you set. I will have to hire or terminate a city attorney, whether contracted or employee, can designate a city recorder and appoint, supervise, and may remove employees, except as the charter states, can organize departments and administrative structure, prepare and administer the budget, acts as the purchasing agent for the city, administers city utilities and property, and encourages support and regional intergovernmental cooperation, and promotes cooperation among the council, staff, citizens in the development of the policies and building a sense of community, and performs other duties as directed by the council and delegates those responsibilities to subordinates as needed. If we were ever to have a municipal judge, I have no authority over that municipal judge, though we do have a contract with one, and so sign the contract to have one. And if I'm absent, can appoint somebody in my place to fill as the interim, unless it's longer than that, and then that would go back to the council. No council member may direct or indirectly try to coerce the manager, or a candidate for office in the appointment or removal of cities. So the council is not supposed to weigh in on if I hire or fire employees, or in administrative decisions regarding city properties or contracts. And this is an interesting, a violation of this prohibition is grounds for removal from office by the majority of the council after a public hearing. So it's kind of one of those things that I will say in response, I will always talk with you. I will always have conversations with you. But it is one of those things that sometimes I'm going to have to make decisions that are tough. And then if need be, we'll take it back to the whole council for council's direction. And we did add, of course, the role of not allowing family members of council or the city manager to work here. The fiduciary responsibility is we just passed that recently. We do have an obligation to provide for public improvements and different stuff, and we just passed that purchasing contract rules, which is a big deal too. 20 years in the making, we got it done. So I just wanted to kind of pause there and clarify the rules that we had, and as we move forward into the rest of the session today and making decisions, it's good to know, okay, my role as a counselor is to make sure the laws and the policies are adopted, and then we need to make sure the city manager is carrying those forward. And then me as a city manager, I need to be responsive to what you guys set before me, and I can make recommendations, but ultimately it's your decisions that I have to follow. And as a whole, when the council adopts something, that's my obligation. So, all right. We're going to go into one more video. It'll pause in the middle of it and we can take a break at the end of that. Are you guys okay to keep going, or do you need to take a quick break now? All right. Here we go into our next video.
Okay, welcome back. I at least hope you came back. So, and I hope that was a valuable exercise to walk through, looking at and hearing from each of your team members a little bit more about them, which is you already knew most of your team members. But especially as a council, it's important as you make choices and decisions for your community that you have not just familiarity, but you know each other. And you understand, have greater understanding of maybe where somebody's coming from. We are going to get started. I'm going to get started on giving you some homework and directions for today. Okay, on the screen, let's see if this is where when I'm in class, if I can't figure something out, I just, students, younger generation today is so well equipped when it comes to technology that I simply just have to say, somebody help me problem solve this, and they do a fabulous job of helping me problem solve it, because I get a little cumbersome through it. Okay, so let's get to work, right? We're here to talk about goals and your objectives today. Well, my goals for you as a team, is number one, that you can today remind yourselves of your purpose and your values as a city of Gold Hill City Council. So as a council, that you can remind yourself of your purpose and values. I have a slide in a few slides that does have your values stated. But you can grow in your understanding of your teamwork and your communication. And what that means is that you learn a little bit more about each other. One of the key activity I'm going to have you do today, you're going to pair up. I would encourage you not to just pair with the person that you know the best. I would encourage you to pair up with maybe somebody you don't know as well. That is your opportunity to get to know each other. And in those pairings, you will be working together in looking at your goals and objectives today. And by the end of the day, after the activity, you will have written out some very tangible, you already have some objectives, but we are going to put those objectives into more detail. And that will benefit for the city of Gold Hill based on the goals that you had already identified over a year ago. So you've already done some homework over a year ago. Lily took that and refined it a little bit to provide some extra focus for us today. And we're going to take that and we're going to build it out more. So that's my goals for you. Again, focusing on your purpose and your values, growing in your own understanding and communication and teamwork, as well as coming out with some tangible objectives that you all as a council can work with for the city of Gold Hill. Okay. Again, purpose, values, goals. And I will have to toss this back to Lily, if all of you, that I would highly recommend. I wasn't able to find your purpose statement on your website. Maybe you do already have one, but this would be a point of conversation later. As of right now, I'm going to presume your purpose is to serve the community of the city of Gold Hill, correct? There might be other aspects of that. And that would be something you might want to develop in the future, not too distant future, but in the future, if you don't have anything written out, or if there's not already a draft of something in place, because that kind of helps be the foundation with which you build and what your community moves towards. We do have some identified values. That was already noted in your work session a little over a year ago with a gentleman named Joe. I have not met before, but I put these on a slide, and the reason being is, you know, for those of you that were part of that work session, you identified sustainable growth, integrity, safety, being collaborative, and having a positive identity as the key values for the city of Gold Hill. And I would recommend, if you want to, you could also pause this video at this moment to take, let's say, 5, no more than 10 minutes, just to reiterate, like, is this truly who we still say we are today, what we value? Those values, again, are going to be pillars to how you make decisions, to how you function as a council, and to how you encourage your community to function. So again, I would encourage you, this would be a good spot.
This will be one of our first kind of just opportunities to talk through this and see, do we, I guess I can switch this to that one. Is this where we want to continue where we are as a council? So last year, Jerry, you weren't with us last year, but the council hosted a strategic plan here in this room, and we had nearly 35 people, if not more, here, community members, stakeholders, and everybody that served on a committee was invited, and everybody was able to invite a couple folks to attend. We had members of the faith community, we had business community represented, we had philanthropic community represented, and citizen volunteers. And out of that, we worked through what you see before you. So out of that, the values expressed were, as stated, sustainable growth, that we can keep up, we can sustain what we're doing as this community grows. I'm going to point out that we currently have pending 58 potential new residences in our community, which is a 10% growth. That's incredible. But all of those are still in pre-planning stages if we can meet some other needs. So growth is going to happen. The other day I heard ODOT in conversation with other city managers that at some point they foresee from Medford to Grants Pass, I-5 completely built out. What would that look like in our community in 50 years if it's a metropolis like Portland and Southern Oregon from maybe even Ashland to Grants Pass? So
Most already is between Ashland and Medford.
it is almost, yeah, there's very little open spaces there. And so sustainable growth, and what does that mean to us and how do we do that? Integrity. And as the work that we do, the reputation the city has had in the past, all of you mentioned something about what you saw going on in the meetings, the havoc, the chaos, the different motives of people that have served in the past for various reasons. But what we said we wanted as a group last year, community members and elected and staff alike, was to have integrity in how, if somebody said Gold Hill, would they say integrity? And if somebody said Gold Hill, would they say safety? So safety means different things to different people. And but that was one of those values, is we want our community to be a safe place, that we're safety needed, that we're collaborative. We will work with people that maybe aren't exactly like us, but achieving goals together that will work for the whole community. And this positive identity, I think, goes hand in hand with everything else. When people say Gold Hill, is it with a positive identity, or is it always going to be the reputation of the past? And so, council, I'd love you guys to weigh in. Do you think these are the values that we should have? Do you affirm what is there, or do you think some of them should be taken away? Or is there some glaring thing that's missing? And we don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this. If we need to delve more into values down the road and the big change, we can come back and do that in another workshop. So let's just spend the next couple minutes if you guys want to jump in. And again, this is not formal today, so go ahead, and as long as we're respectful of other people talking, go ahead and just jump in as need be. But we are recording, so try to be close to your mic so you can hear. And if you can hear yourself in the microphone, then the TV can too.
I am good with everything here still.
As the newest member, I really appreciate what I see here. The idea that we have new homes being built here. Obviously, we need businesses to come into the town to help. I mean, we need tax revenue essentially. So these companies and these homes will bring tax revenue to, right? No?
I'll answer that real quick. So the only revenue that we get off of businesses is the property tax. So that would be the assessed value, just the same as homes. This income tax and anything else that would come from a business goes straight to the state or the feds, but not to us locally. So we would be impacted by the utility use and the billing related to the utilities, and then the assessed value. And our property tax rate is $1.68 per thousand assessed value. And that doesn't matter if it's business or commercial or industrial or residential. It's just the county's assessed value at $1.68 per thousand, no matter what the property is.
Honestly, what I was really saying is more people, more money comes into the city is what I'm on to. And so, you know, all these values for me as a first term councilman, I think are excellent.
I think,
I'll just jump in here. So I'm looking at these ahead and I'm kind of making notes on them. So like, I was looking at our express values and I'm looking at sustainable. I'm looking at that in my head, I'm thinking, okay, that depends on our finances. We're working in the direction of getting those in line.
So we're not discussing if we're there, it's the values we'd like to see for the city, that we'd have sustainable growth. So if that is our value, later we look at our goals and objectives of how do we abide by our values, or how do we obtain our values? And that's where we have that discussion about the things that impact those.
What I was getting at was, I think that's a great one for Knoxville. Integrity, I think we're doing really well at. Safety, I think we need to still work on. Which is, we stay in there, collaborative, we're doing great on that one, and a positive identity, I think we moved in a positive direction in that, just by looking at like the League of Orange City coming here last week. Having their meeting, I mean, the look of what Gold Hill is changing into in just the last year that we've been here, has changed. And since we've had this, we're achieving those things, I think that we need to.
yeah, I'm happy with those. I think they cover the most important things, you know.
Good jumping off point.
Mhm.
I would like to make a comment. Okay, we have expressive values, sustainable growth. To me, that's not a expressive value. That's an objective. When I see safety, that's also an objective. Values are like integrity, selfless service. So that's where I'm kind of confused why we have sustainable growth and safety in there, because those are objectives. Am I wrong?
It can be adjectives and verbs. I think they could be both, but yeah,
I
and
get why we have them there. I see that, that is one of our objectives. I
Sure.
want sustainable growth, but I mean, as far as value.
but a value would be that we have sustainable growth, that we are keeping up with our infrastructure as growth happens,
Mhm.
that we don't grow beyond our infrastructure, that we don't overproduce our infrastructure from what sustainable is that we're keeping up with the needs and not falling behind. So I think that can be a value, because some people, they value no growth. They don't want anything to happen.
Yeah.
More people.
We heard that, we've
Yeah.
heard that before. I want it like it used to be, but you can't stop that.
So I think that would be my response on the
Okay.
sustainable growth as a value. And then in safety, like I said, that can mean different things to different people. And I think that's where, when we look at the goals that come forward and the objectives, really, is it Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Feeling safe, being able to have autonomy. Do you have a home? Do you feel safe in your home? Do you have the ability to drive on a street safely? Do you have the ability to come and go? What are those things that people value? And basic needs is shelter. And so if you don't feel safe in that shelter, I think people can say that safety is a value, but if you don't want it there, I mean, that's a council as a whole. but
That was my question, though.
Yeah.
I don't see how you're fitting that in as a value.
This was the group last year.
Those are objectives.
Well, I think if you try to turn them into sentences, you can say, we value sustainable growth. We value integrity. We value safety. We value collaboration.
Okay.
I would
We
agree.
value
Yeah.
having a positive
I can
idea. I
buy
think we
that,
just
yeah.
flesh them out a little more,
Mhm.
that there's just not
I'll
words,
buy
make
that.
statements out of them. I think it makes sense.
Yeah, and as for the safety, is the value of the people living in the town. Their values will create that safe. Example for me is, we just recently had a 15-year-old runaway running around our town for about 2 or 3 months. And, I was reasonably sure that nothing was gonna have bad happen to her because of the values of the people had in the town. So that's one way I'm looking at values, and when it comes to safety, is how they look at their other people, how they respect the other people in our town.
So are we good with the values that are listed? Anybody else want to weigh in or?
Um. I'm old school and I've been here since 59. It's been a small town, so for me, I don't like the growth myself because I worked in Intel in Portland. And I looked at those kids, it was so crowded up there, they had no place to play, run or do anything, and the crime rate was high. So as far as the growth is concerned, my grandkids now that live here, they have all this hills to run on. I personally don't want to see it develop and be overcrowded, but they don't have time to play in the river, play in the creeks, play, like and all that stuff because it's overpopulated. You know, I love the small town.
And thankfully, that's what sustainable growth means. Sustainable is what can we sustain? We don't grow beyond what we can sustain. And, you know, right now, I would say that past decisions of the community that didn't keep up with the infrastructure that we have and the maintenance of what we have caused us to grow beyond sustainable already. So we have to catch up to meet the needs of where we are right now, or we will actually go backwards because if we don't repair the plant, some of those other things. So, all right, I appreciate that.
If we're gonna prepare something, you know, for the public or some kind of a summary about all of this or anything, I would suggest when it comes to those values, expressing them as more of a statement, like we values, you know, like I just said, makes more sense to people. I think.
Absolutely. As a city, we value.
So like we do council rules, you know how we have, most corporations and most companies have their.
We'd love to put it on the wall.
Statement.
Yeah.
Mission statement, that should be.
So we don't have purpose and we don't have that purpose yet.
Right.
We can develop that another day. Today, we're going to go through the goals and objectives, but just wanted to make sure that we're starting from the standpoint of the values that the group decided on a year ago. All right, we'll keep going in the video.
To possibly just pause and have no more than 5 to 10 minutes conversation, like, are those the values that we would say we still subscribe to today? Okay. Hopefully, as you took a minute to talk about your values, and if anything changed, we will update me in the future. But the key part is, I would say, use those values for when you reach a crossroads in your decision making to bring it back to what have we said we're going to say we're about. Okay, as we talk about goal setting, here I'm going to give you some tips and some framework. You will have different workstations that you'll be working at. The key thing that you have to answer for yourselves as a council when looking at goals, or I say this to any organization, it is great to set goals. It's important to set goals. It can also be really cumbersome to set goals, and it can feel like really restraining. It can feel clunky, and it sometimes is really messy, to be honest. My philosophy, and take it or leave it, but my philosophy is to keep it as simple as possible. So the form that I've created for you that you will work through as a team or in teams and in pairs, excuse me, is a simpler form of many different types of goal setting sheets, excuse me. To be able to answer these questions. Every time you look at an objective, every time you look at a goal, you have to be able to answer the question, is this a need? Is this a want? Is this imperative? Because my take is that as you're developing these goals, you really, as a council, need to focus on what is the need or what's imperative. And typically the imperative needs to go before the need. Now, what happens is oftentimes there are so many needs. There's a lot of imperatives. That is valid because if things have been neglected or if there's been a point of chaos, or there hasn't been good leadership, that is not pointing the fingers at anybody, but just there hasn't been a great construct of operating systems even. It can feel chaotic. And in that, it's really hard to know what is actually imperative, what's the need, and what is a want. So on each of the objectives that will be laid out in front of you today, there's a question at the top of it, and I'll show you later an example. We'll talk through an example. but it says need, want, imperative. And that is going to be important for you to identify. I'm going to be blunt enough to say, if something falls in the want category, it's probably not worth your time right now. It's something that needs to be like, we're gonna prioritize that, but it needs to wait. And it needs to wait maybe a year or two until we can get there. If you find something is a need, well, typically the imperatives are pretty important. For example, like water, right? That is going to be an imperative. That is not uncommon. I just worked with another city that they had some pretty imperative things that came with their water. Here's the example, though, I would say is that, excuse me, you may have a longer term goal, something that's 3 to 5 years, and you need to look at that and say, what can we reasonably accomplish within 1 to 2 years? Those 1 to 2 years, that is going to be what's going to help you get the ball rolling and motion forward on some of your projects. It does not mean that you can't do long-term planning, does not mean that you can't do 3 to 5 year planning plus. What that means, though, is that you have to look at that 3 to 5 year goal, or 10 or 15 even, and you have to say, what is it we can actually accomplish in 1 to 2 years? What is that step forward? Is that looking for grant money for that project? Is that looking for what our options are in that 1 to 2 year time frame? So as you begin to distinguish as a team, is that objective? Is that goal and that objective? Is it a need and a want? Is it imperative? Then you have to decide, okay, what can we actually reasonably accomplish in 1 to 2 years? So today, again, excuse me, I would encourage you, keep looking at each of your objectives within a 1 to 2 year time frame. And if something is longer than that, it's not that you throw it out. What you do is you simply table it and you say, that is something that we need to wait on. If there's something in that longer term goal that we can shrink down and accomplish in 1 to 2 years, then we just need to modify our goal or modify our objective for a 1 to 2 year time frame. Let's see. Before I go launch into a full example of the exercise I'll be working on, I just wanted to define what a SMART goal is. You're going to see that term on your sheet. A SMART goal doesn't necessarily mean that it's an intelligent goal. It means that hopefully it's a methodology for setting it up to be more successful, or for you to be more successful in your goal setting. So, for example, SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. All of those elements that could be identified within a goal. A simple example I love to do is when somebody says, hey, I want to lose 20 pounds. 20 pounds, that's my reducing goal, but it's not a SMART goal. We don't know much about it. It just says, I want to lose 20 pounds. When you turn it into a SMART goal, it sounds something more like, I would like to lose 20 pounds within a calendar year by having weekly accountability, working out 3 times a week, setting up, changing my diet for a healthy diet, and working out with a workout buddy, something of that sense. Now, granted, that is not necessarily a professional goal, but you get the idea of how you take, I want to lose 20 pounds into something that is very much more specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. The reality is that it puts a time frame on it and it draws out the details. And it actually, when we put goals into SMART metrics, or we look at it from a SMART methodology, we're more successful on it. We've seen it work so many times for working professionals and organizations. And so I would encourage you that today, as you work through the details of your objectives and goals, it's okay to be detailed and write it out there. It's not going to be refined today. That is going to be the work that Lily and her staff will work with, and I'll coach her through some of that on after today's work session and in the coming weeks. And so with that, I would just say you're wanting to get the material out there. You want to be decisive on the material, but make sure that you're being specific, measurable, it's being achievable, realistic, and it has a time frame on it. And it is okay too, as Lily had also shared, sometimes we don't know exactly when the completion date might happen or the time frame for something. But we can identify something earlier on to say, this is a good point of measurement for this. So look at if there is a time frame for something, jot it down, pencil it in. That's okay. We don't have to hold each other to it. Okay, so that's all for this video. What I would love for you to do is to take a break. I know you probably just had a break. I want you to take a break. Use the restroom if you need to get some water or have a snack, because your next round of what you're going to do, you're going to be focused, working in teams and your pairs in 10 to 15 minute timeframes, working on goals and objectives. And it's going to need some thinking power. And I think it'll be fun. It's a good, active way to move forward on some goals. So I'll see you in just a minute for another short video on the how-tos, and enjoy your short break. Talk to you soon. Okay, here we go. Welcome back. I hope that I hope you had a short break, and the next step is going to be you doing a lot of hard work, to be honest, and thinking through each of your council goals and the objectives that were identified under those goals. For the most part, if I recall properly, that with each goal there was approximately 2 to 4 objectives, and that is ambitious. Typically, I try to encourage teams to fall within the 10 range, no more than 12 range. And you're right there. Does not necessarily mean that you have to eliminate any. So I'm not encouraging that, but I would just say it will take a little more time. And so I would be prepared to know that when you look at each of the goals and the objectives, that you'll have to be focused and be concise. And I'll just be so blunt to say, if any of you have a tendency to wander in thought, or walk down a bird trail of thought, bring it back in, because you're going to have focused, concentrated times working on your goals and objectives, and you want to be efficient with it. So the way I have typically run this is, I say again, like I mentioned earlier, you're going to partner up into teams. So partner up with somebody. When we're done with this video, partner up with somebody that's not necessarily your best friend or exactly your neighbor. Whereas maybe in the city of Gold Hill, everybody's your neighbor. I'm not sure. We're going to partner up with somebody, and in that, you and your partner, there'll be one group of 3. If you want to partner up with one group, or if you want to work on your own, that would be fine too. But partner up with somebody, and in partnering up, you're going to be at, well, I'll say, a goal station. So all of the objectives with goal 1 are together, all of goal 2 is together, all of goal 3 objectives are together. So each goal is its own working station. And we're going to be with each goal for about 15 minutes. And in that, I'm going to show you what the sheet looks like. You're going to have your pen or pencil ready. Actually, I probably encourage a pencil, but if you have pens, okay, don't stress it. So on your screen, you should be able to see, this is like goal 3, just an example. Promote and support public safety by improving relations with emergency services, encouraging community involvement, and supporting local code enforcement. The first objective is fuels reduction management on city properties and public land. You're scrolling down here. Your second objective was increase citizen awareness and engagement in Firewise. Your third objective was develop emergency evacuation routes and plan. And your fourth objective, which is continue to pursue solutions for fire emergency response, fire station staffing, and law enforcement. So the first pairing, and each pairing that gets there, we're going to look at all 4 of those objectives in a 15-minute time frame. Now, granted, I'm going to give really full permission, but if 15 minutes just seems like too little or too much on the first round, that's okay, extend it, but no more than 5 minutes. And the reality is that you want to hone in your efficiency as best as you can, and also trust your other council members who will be looking at the same goal at some point, okay? So at the 5 different stations, essentially, whoever lands at this one first, they are going to think through this. What are all the things that are necessary to complete this task? And they're going to make a short list within this box. This is what we know is necessary. How can this goal be accomplished? Write out a few thoughts, how it can be accomplished. Mark down who will monitor it. Granted, typically the city administrator is the key point person on the goals for the city, but there might also be somebody else who assists and works on, it just depends on that. So if you have a fire chief, the law enforcement, there might also be some other people who are involved in that. Problems that could occur, you want to think through. Is there something on this goal or this objective that could create some extra challenge? Will we have community buy-in? Will there be resources that are available? There are no resources available. I'm not sure, but you want to think through what those problems are. And then also write down what are some possible solutions, some ideas of, again, you're kind of thinking outside the box. You know, you're in a box here. You're thinking outside the box to consider what are some opportunities for us in this. I would say try not to spend a ton of time on the timeline and completion date, because part of that is what Lily and her staff can go in and fill in and kind of identify. That can come later. Your priorities today are the boxes. And forgive me, I missed one step up here. For each and every objective and each and every goal, it needs to be identified. Is this a need? Is this want and imperative? So forgive me, I should have said that first. You've got to start there. So if something shows up here as like, that's just a want, then again, I would encourage you in your 10, 15 minutes that you're sitting with those goals and objectives. If it's a want, I would say set it to the back burner, just set it to the side. It's okay. Put all your imperatives in front of you first. Your imperatives need to take your time and attention, then your needs. And then if there's time, look at the wants. Okay. So again, you're prioritizing your imperatives, your needs, and then your wants. And then you're going to focus on your boxes. Lily brought up a really good question. We're talking about, what if in some of the verbiage and the goals changes or the objectives changes? That's okay. If there's something on here, I just took what was on that document. And I know Lily had refined it some, but if there's something on here on your goals or your objectives that needs to be modified or changed, you have full authority to do that. So scratch it out. You will in a little bit have some debrief time as a team. And maybe that's a point that you need to revisit with that. Okay. Again, very brief recap before I release you to go work in your pairs, which is you'll sit down with all of the objectives, your table of in front of you of your goals, of a goal with all the objectives, and each piece of paper has its own objective on it. You're going to first ask yourself the question, is this a need? Is this want? Is this imperative? We're going to prioritize. Your imperatives come first, your needs come next, and then the wants come last. And especially in this, you're thinking within that 1 to 2 year time frame. Excuse me, that 1 to 2 year time frame. We need to focus in on how do we get some success? How do we build some progress in this 1 to 2 years? I guarantee you, in a year to two, you're going to see some great growth in some of these areas. If somebody in your group is really good with this, try to turn this objective into a SMART goal if you want to. But I would not say don't spend much time there. Your focus is then going to be on these boxes. So answer need, want, imperative, focus on your boxes. Then you can start to write out your SMART goal there of what does that actually look like based on some of the information that's in here. Again, if you don't get to your SMART goal, and if you don't get to your timeline and your completion dates, that is okay. That is material that Lily and her staff can work with, okay? So you do that with each of the objectives within that goal in that 15 time frame, and you're going to see some really good material. Okay, so you'll work in, again, like I said, in pairs with yourself and somebody else, working 15-minute time frames per each goal station. And then, so when Lily says it's time to move, everybody up and at them, move to your next goal station. And so after the timeframes, I believe you have 5 different goals. So you'll spend 15 minutes at each goal. And at the end of that hour and 15 minutes, again, take another break, take a breather, let your brain rest. Then you will come back to collectively as a group, and you will debrief what you had shared. And, or excuse me, I should say, I would recommend having a different counselor take each of the goal initiatives and the objectives that are with it, reading through what was developed and just sharing it. If there's something that needs to be eliminated, that is okay. But I would look to I think I would, so you don't get off on too many tangents. I would just look to stick with the material that you've created today. Now, if there's something that is really taking up a lot of time, I would encourage you to just pause and say, maybe this objective or maybe this goal needs more time and more place. So let's move on to another that we can give our focus time to. And just for the sake of your time, because I really want you to, I want to try and help you stay within the time frame that you've allotted for today. So again, if there's some gaps in what's processed on those forms, that is okay. Lily and her staff are more than capable of taking that on. But having you as a council look through all of those components of each goal and each of those objectives will help you and help your community find some great success in this area. So that is all I have for you today. I really appreciate you listening, even though, again, it's not my most polished presentation, please forgive me, but I am very thankful for the opportunity to work with the city of Gold Hill, and being a Southern Oregon girl, I will have to come visit at some point. So I look forward to that. But I really do wish you the very best, and Lily knows that she can reach out at any point to be able to ask me some questions and help you in your process. So have a good time and problem solve together. You're going to come up with some great products and some good initiatives. Have a great day. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey. So we're gonna break into pairs if you guys want to find a partner. I have put numbers on 5 at the tables, and when we break, I'm probably going to move one of the tables back over here just to give a little bit of space. But on Tuesday night, we talked about the 5 goals that were the top of the priority. Number 1 was infrastructure. Number 2 was finance and finances. Tied for 3 was public safety and recreation, and 4th was governance. Now, based on what we accomplished a year ago, plus what you guys said Tuesday night, we have developed a goal sheet for each of the objectives that you see on the page, plus the ones we developed Tuesday night. It may mean that we don't get to them all, and I'm gonna give you an example. And public safety, which she talked about, last year, the goal that was determined last year, the overall that was on the big pages that we came up with, said, goal 3, promote and support public safety by improving relations with emergency services, encouraging community involvement, and supporting local code enforcement. And then underneath that were the 4 objectives she just talked about as the example. But on Tuesday night at our council meeting, we also brought up address the needs of Gold Hill during ODOT bridge closure. So I added a sheet and additional restrooms, which I think was supposed to be a part of recreation. So I'll move that to 4. So that's easy. But that means there's 5 in public safety. So that's a lot. So we may have to see if some of these maybe can combined. So for instance, one of the objectives was develop emergency evacuation routes and plans. Could that maybe be combined with the needs during the ODOT bridge closure? Maybe that it can be, a way to do that. Fuels management on city properties and public lands, as well as increasing citizen awareness and engagement in firewalks. Maybe that could be fire safety. So we can decide if we want to keep the same objectives, but I want to bring a time thing up to you guys. She mentioned 15 minutes for these. So there's going to be 5 stations and 3 groups. And so you're going to go to all 5 stations at some point. So at any time, 1 or 2 of the tables will be empty. And we're going to build upon each other's work. The hardest is going to be the first group you go to, right? Because the first thing you're going to answer is that objective that's on the page. So for instance, say this is recreation and additional restrooms is the objective. So the first thing we say is this a need, a want, or is it imperative? And so when we develop that, the first group that goes to the table will probably say, if it's a need, want, or imperative. And based on what we're trying to do today, if there's one that's imperative, pick that first and work through the squares below. And then if you have time, go to the wants and then go to the, excuse me, go to the needs and wants last, right? So imperative first, needs and wants, start with identifying as the objective, a need, a want, or imperative, then do the squares. And then when the timer goes, you're going to switch to a new table. If it's a table where someone's already been, look at what's there and talk with your partner and see if there's more to add. Or if you, any bullet points. So as a whole, you're going to go from table to table. As it's 10 to noon right now, if we went 15 minutes and immediately got up in between each and went to the next table and went to work and in the next 15 minutes go, we're going to end a little after 1 o'clock. And then our schedule would have us take a break and then debrief. So it's a matter of how much time we're going to do that, because I know Joe has to leave early today. He has somewhere to be at 2. I have to be somewhere at 2:30. And okay, so we're going to try to, if you want, we can do 10 minutes at each station to try to give us a little bit more time, and the timer in 10 minutes. Okay, so at this point, have you all partnered up with somebody, or do you need to do that still? All right.
Yep, and I got him.
Okay, great. Okay, so table 1's over here, and table 1 is infrastructure. Table 2 is right here. That's finance and funding. Table 3 is public safety over here. Table 4 is recreation. And then table 5 is governance. So for those tables that are here, I did put pencils at each table, but you might need to take them with you. I have the sheets for the other stuff. You really don't need to go off of what was last year. I just gave it to you so you'd have a reference. Our goal right now is need, want, imperative, and then the squares. And you should have one for each of the objectives for that table and work group, okay? All right, any questions?
We need squares.
I'll get you squares momentarily, I promise.
Oh, we're low here.
I think the fact that we got contact with Medford for a job.
Table 4.
We're gonna move this forward, but I don't know a lot of.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I'm gonna be following your lead here because I'm coming in as
Yeah.
Craig. So,
Okay, so. Is it a need?
absolutely, it's a need.
It is, for the want, yes, for the parent.
Well, I think for us to move forward on the, in the city and to prove in the city, it has to be imperative.
It is a lot, just like we're gonna build for each other. Remember, start with each one. So we know.
Well, municipal codes, we just recently adopted the state, right? State.
Municipal code. Is that one of the things we just adopted a bunch of, or is that something we have to work through?
So definitely imperative.
Definitely. Okay, this one. Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Realize you have to do. The first identify imperative, for one.
Oh,
I don't know if 10 minutes gonna be enough.
So this one.
And that's the one she's talking about, the charter, right?
Charter, so. Definitely, that one is definitely imperative. This one is done through chain of command. Three communications, okay, so this one is. Municipal code first. And policy. Oh. And we know it's imperative, so what resources are necessary to complete this task?
Time for sure
Yeah.
to review. The charter is one thing that's done. But like I said, what, 20 years since the code was last updated?
Right, but. So my question is, put it down. It goes through the code, and goes, oh, that's it. Oh, that's got it. Now imagine she does, and then she brings it up.
Yep, yeah. So maybe volunteers to help her, because I love code.
Do you?
Oh, man, I was a well inspector in California for 20 years. I am that guy, peculiar people. Call me right now, peculiar people. To help review the codes and the policies. So let's just try to get one point on each one. And then we'll let the other people do, we don't have to try to solve this world's problems all right here. And so that would obviously be the city manager. And again, volunteers. Understanding the code. There's a lot of cross references that come in codes. Knowing that you read this and you say, oh, well, this means that, but in reality, you have to take in other concepts for understanding it. And we've just seen recently with the our federal government, they're erasing old statutes as they're putting the new ones. And so that's what we find with code is that we get this new code enforcement, but we realize it's in conflict with something that was written 15, 20 years ago. So those types of things have to be. Time and the right people. I mean, honestly, that's,
Dedication.
yeah, I like that. Page.
Something that I want to do, right? But you.
I could, yeah.
Yeah, but it's different. So it takes that.
Yeah.
That one. And this one is still the fourth one.
So now this is judges and possibly police force, is that?
No, we need. To go like, oh, if you put a 10% up
Yep.
front, that's, we've got to talk to them, and if they don't take care of it, then we have potential.
So is that somebody that we need to hire as an individual, or is that something because I mean, Tony used to be that guy at the same time. I know
Well,
Tony did that. Yeah, he tried to be that guy, but I mean, in a small town like this, that might be advantageous to have the same guys that are out there on the streets all the time. I used to do the water meters here. That means that I'm down every, yeah, you have to be impartial, absolutely. And you can't be just picking on people, so,
Right, like Tony did.
yeah.
So we need an audit,
And so,
and this is imperative, I believe, because there is so much going on, I mean, like. There is one house that's got.
yep, I've been doing that. If there's ever an urgency there, the
And they block traffic. Let's go back to this. What other resources are there to take this path?
Again, with the small city, I think we're gonna see volunteer everyone. And the other thing too is that we need it, along with that officer, we need somebody to establish a standard. You know, because these guys, whoever these guys are probably not gonna sit down and code, just like we were saying. So we need somebody to give them a guideline, if you will. Because there are just some fights that we won't win, but the other fights that we can.
Not a need, want, or imperative. Okay.
Makes sense? So I figured, what do we, what's the main thing we need? We gotta upgrade it. Upgrade it, do it. We have some of them, I don't know, it's closed. Good. Continue revising the public code. Establish clear chain of command and implement policies. So first you do this. Then you need. Yep. So to me, this is like. This is this man. Some. That'll be right. That'll be right. Fair. You. Make sense? What resource you know to go to do that. But we did really well with the part of that. They could do that. I mean, they haven't been moving. I don't think they would give them something. The planning commission with the we left those in order of like, yeah. No. It's just administrative. That's what we were looking at, like, that doesn't make, yeah. Really? Improved communication with public on city code and procedures. I think if we sit there for revising the code and we include the public, they're already gonna be doing this. So let's turn this into a if it's tying into this, is it what we want? Combine with three? Yeah, that's what we're. What we want. The complications of having designated. Staff. Why couldn't our attorney? Facility. At least they can sit there and they can notice it. They can notice it. Oh. Yeah. Put your finger in. Wow. I'm doing the same thing. I write in there and I'll put an arrow, go up and go there. With a big old. I didn't hear that. That would be a good place for it because, yeah. That parking lot? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It'd be a good place for it. We'd have to buy it. Yep. Right.
Well, wow. Five. Number five. Five. Oh. But that's five. That's six. Here's that.
Had a chance to get to all 5 stations. We are gonna take a 10-minute break and then we're gonna come back and debrief. So realize that we're gonna have each of you present. So we have the 5 goals. There's 6 of us, 6 of you, but we'll present. Each of you grab one of the goals and you'll present each of the objectives. So, but let's take a break. We'll come back and see you in 10 minutes. That's pretty cool. All right, welcome back and thank you guys. So now is the opportunity to debrief. It's always a unique thing to have a collaborative process where you're not discussing the collaboration. You got your partner, then you move on to a new station, 2 new people come in and they look at what you did and they're like, what did they do? I'm not doing that. But it is a way of having us all weigh in. And what will do is sum up after you give the debriefing. We'll clean it up into a piece. We'll bring it back to the council and kind of go. And if you guys want to do another workshop, we can do another Saturday and we kind of hone through the next stuff if you like. I'm just trying to be mindful of your time as volunteers. And I mean, if I work every day from 12:01 a.m. to 11:59 p.m., I mean, I'm paid the same either way, right? So I'm happy to meet with you all as often as you want. You guys did an incredible job this week with 3 big meetings. And that's a lot to ask of volunteers. It's definitely more than once a month. And there's things we'll need to discuss. Previously, when I was on city council in Grants Pass, they do workshops in the middle of the day on Mondays. And those are never decision makers. Those are just talking over things and kind of getting direction and going over things. And once they're done workshopping, then they go to a council meeting on a Wednesday night where they'll vote on things and go from there. I've tried to kind of see if we can incorporate in a workshop on like the 3rd Tuesday of the month. So then you are voting on the 1st Tuesday of the month, but sometimes we have to make decisions sooner because of different timeframes. And, sometimes it takes longer to get things developed. I would suggest that we as a council talk about that. And we've talked about having council rules updated, and so far no citizens were interested. A couple of the city councilors were, but maybe we workshop that too. And then just kind of work through our existing rules, what some other places have, and kind of see what you guys want to do, and maybe we can pound that out in a work group. But workshops are a good opportunity to, not under the pressure of making a decision, kind of give the direction and work through thoughts, working through the process. And so today I feel has been pretty productive in some of these ideas, and it doesn't have to be the final outcome today. This is just a matter of, it was our first round about it, and based on what you guys would like to do, we'll take the next steps. So for right now though, it would be nice to see how things developed. So I noticed a couple of the groups took a bunch of objectives and shrunk them down into some others. So maybe somebody from those groups that did that could actually speak to that goal and say, we started with this, but we realized this, and this is now where we have, and then everybody worked out from there. So we have 5 goals, and I've collected all the sheets. What we're gonna ask is that there's 5 goals and 6 counselors, so I'm gonna take volunteers. If I bring up one of the goals, if somebody wants to present that one. So the first one I have is goal 1, which was infrastructure. And it kind of changed, I think it started with Ron and Rick is the first ones that kind of changed the direction, so I'll pass that one out. 2 is the finance one. I don't know if it changed at all. Finance and funding, whoever was first with that or anybody want to take finance and funding?
I will.
Okay. 3 was, the first 3 was public safety. Anybody like to take public safety? All right. 4 was recreation. Who would like recreation? Okay, and then 5 is governance. Who would like governance? All right. You won. He did paper, you did, he did, never mind, just kidding.
Apparently, and I started with rock.
Okay, so this is going to be what I would recommend. Can I borrow one? So go ahead and we'll go 1 through 5. So go ahead and read the goal first, and then we'll just go to objectives. Read the objective. We'll talk, then read through what resources are necessary to complete the task. And how will this goal be accomplished and who will monitor it? What problems may occur and what are possible solutions? So, I'm sorry. The goal, the objective, and of each objective, was it imperative, wanted, or needed? And then read across the boxes and then go to the next one. So we're just going to present to each other. Make sure the microphone's kind of close. And do you guys need 5 minutes to look over it to get yourself prepared? Would that be helpful?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to put us on hold while you guys, we'll start presenting at 10 after, okay? Don't talk about anything that's not off the record. I'm just going to pause it for now as you guys prepare. The only thing we're talking about right now is you're reading through the papers. That's it. If this should be spurning ideas for you guys. Go ahead and keep your own notes of things you want to bring back and let's talk about in the good of the order at one of the meetings. Or email me. Or, I can follow up if you like with setting up a one-on-one with each of you in the next couple of weeks. And you guys one-on-one could give me some feedback if you like. So I'll take your direction from the council on how you'd like to do that. But for the task right now, so that we can get done and some of the members that have to leave early, let's just read through. So you'll read the goal once, then you'll read the objective, if it's a need, a want, or if it's imperative, and then you'll read the 4 squares, go to the next objective, needs, wants, imperative, squares, and so forth. All right, we good? We'll come back in 4.5 minutes after you guys have had a chance to prepare to present.
That. Testing.
Joe's going to go first. Go ahead and read the goal and then the objective, the need, want, and
I'm doing all 5.
you're going to read all 5. You only have to read the goal once, but then read the objective if it's need, want, or imperative, the boxes, and go through all of them.
So goal 3, promote support public safety by improving relations with emergency services. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Got to get right on it.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
There you go.
Is that better? That better?
Oh, baby.
Testing 1, 2, 3. All right, so goal 3, promote and support public safety by improving relations with emergency services, encouraging community involvement and supporting local code enforcement. Objective 1 was fuel reduction management on city properties and public lands. Looked like most of us put down there was imperative, assessments. Some resources necessary to complete it was assessments, money, grants, volunteers. And what we put down was fire district, partner with Fire District 3 to get an overall plan, so we have a starting point. Money, grants, community involvement, collaboration with state fire marshal. Problems, no volunteers or not enough. Conflicts with ideas. Follow state and county regulations and maps. Along with that, me and Malia also were looking at, there needs to be additional objectives. It looks like all this is just towards fire mainly. And we were looking at more like we heard last week with the safe routes to school, finding things like that where we could add the objectives in there. Safe pathway. The second one over here. Second one here, address needs of Gold Hill during ODOT bridge closure. This is imperative. Improve response time, response policies, prep community. Problems that may incur congestion on lampmen, upset citizens, possible solutions, a lot of signage. And I think this is one that we probably should look at even closer as a council. How we're going to sit there and try to get this to us. That's the community. Objective 3, develop emergency evacuation routes and plans. That was imperative, especially with the bridge closure. Resources necessary would be FEMA and other cities of same size. How will be accomplished? Mayor appointing a task force. Problems that may occur, money, signage, development plan. Get it out to cities and more.
So FEMA does not do planning for us whatsoever. All of this is our goals for us. Is this achievable in the next 1 or 2 years? What can we do on these items? And so resources potentially could be, is there funding, but FEMA's only an after action funding, not a pre-for, unless there's training involved, of which that's different. But as far as making the plan, those outside resources don't do it. So we'll, just as an FYI, if you hear things, we might make some, when it gets to me, I might make some additions and get them back to you guys. So.
Objective 4, continue to pursue solutions. Fire emergency response, fire station staffing, law enforcement. Like I said before, it looks like a lot of this is like 4 of them could be combined into one. But anyways, resources necessary to complete this task, fire volunteers and station. Problems may be no volunteers or money.
I wasn't a part of that discussion as it was being written. Nothing on there is anything the city has control over. It's a separate government entity. That is not a goal of the city. We cannot control their volunteers. We cannot control their staffing and nor their funding. Now, we have discussions with them that we want it, and that's achievable for us. But when that turns into a SMART goal, you might see a different outcome than what you wrote down because of what we have, our scope of control versus another government entity's scope of control.
Here it says objective 2, increase citizens awareness and engagement of Firewise program. Again, this all could be tied together. I don't understand why we had it. But anyways, it says first box is education. City priorities around town need to be, or city air properties around town need to be cleaned up. Fuel, I think we've already been working on. Problems that may occur, money, lack of interest, lack of motivation. Possible pollution, volunteers, more communication with them.
Who has goal number one? Thank you for doing goal number three, Joe. We know you might have to leave early.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Drive safe.
Mayor, you have goal number one, if you'd be willing to pull that mic real close. I know I have a voice that projects, but I know that I had a hard time hearing Joe, so if I'm having a hard time hearing Joe, then the public is too, so make sure that mic is close, that you're almost talking into it like you're a rock star.
Goal number one, created a maintain stormwater road system plan for payment for. And so I'm gonna start, I have two sheets on both. And objective number one is create and update master plan. I wrote down need, that's the only one I was added to that. So, what resources are necessary to complete this task? Funding. Good long workshop with all involved, great update. How will this goal be accomplished? We will monitor it. I put, there's ones grants and overseen by the city manager. Really add. Problems that may occur, lack of color. Possible solutions, encourage communication. This is also objective number one, stormwater, streets, parks, city properties. Improve facilities and infrastructure. I wrote down imperative and nobody changed that either, so everybody agreed on that. What resources are necessary to complete this task? Funding and already taught. How this goal be accomplished? Who will monitor city maintenance and volunteers directed by the city admin? Problems that may occur, money. Possible solutions, volunteers. Going along with objective number two, pursue funding and complete plan. RV cog. What resources are necessary to complete this task? Council involvement. Oh, I'm not sure. This is just what they have. Up there. It says, what resources are necessary to complete this task? I guess utilize RV cog.
And this is the maintaining our current infrastructure?
Yeah, pursuing funding. Plan.
Okay.
Or a resource to where we can get. I don't. How this will be accomplished? Who will monitor it? What's what appears. Problems that may occur, no grants available, possible solutions, take advantage of that cost. I'm not sure. So, goal number two, infrastructure, city properties, parks, streets, water, storms, sewer. Maintenance and repair current infrastructure. So that current infrastructure. That's an imperative. What resources are necessary to complete this task? Funding, good council advice. Transportation planning.
Transportation, maybe? I don't know. I didn't write it.
Oh, I thought it looked like ING to me. So anyway, RV cog, ready plan, assessment. How this will be accomplished? Who will monitor it? Trainings and monitored by city. Problems that may occur, lack of funding, scheduling, bills. Possible solution, money.
Ready for goal number two?
Go for it.
This is establish a comprehensive financial plan that fosters economic growth, innovation, and sustainability. Objective, search for and apply for foundation grants and funding. It's an imperative, apparently. And somebody said for with a question mark, funding for whatever we need, I'm assuming. What resources are necessary to complete this task? Council, research, RVCOG, grant person, money, networking, and LOC. How will this goal be accomplished and who will monitor it? City admin, council, staff. Problems that may occur, lack of education, someone to edit. Possible solution, further workshops, bringing in outside education. Objective 2, sell excess land. It's a want. What resources are necessary to complete this task? Widen urban growth boundaries. Excess land list. Look at Lampman to get rid of. Protect beach park and sports park from sale and ordinance. From sale ordinance, I'm not sure.
That's finance?
It's establishing comprehensive financial plan that fosters economic growth, innovation, and sustainability.
You gotta have that mic on near you, sorry.
So, I'm gonna write that, and it was under the objective for sell excess land.
Got it.
So in the old charter, the the city beach park was protected from sale in the old charter. We didn't put that in the new charter.
It might be under deed restriction too. So, and it was not in the most recent charter.
We didn't put it in the new charter, so it's kind of leaves it out there, but I think we need to look into protecting sale of our parks, basically, at least very strategic.
Okay.
How will this goal be accomplished and who will monitor it? More research, a team needs to work on this, and staff. Problems that may occur, funds for assessment. Possible solutions, research and development. This is objective. Must be 3. Complete and keep current all audits. What resources, oh, it's imperative. What resources are necessary to complete this task? Time, funds. Somebody said, get it done. How will this goal be accomplished and who will monitor it? Possible volunteers can help for reconciling and bookkeeping, etc. Lily and staff and accountant. Problems that may occur, lack of info and lack of time. Possible solutions, get the audits done and budgets done. Objective number 5. Provide regular quarterly financial reports to council. Imperative. What resources are necessary to complete this task? Outside source to complete audit, which is being done. Time and personnel. How will this goal be accomplished and who will monitor it? Hire right company. Problems that may occur, the money to hire, possible solutions, complete audit and a budget committee. This one said nobody did it. This one is create public and private partnerships. It's a want and it said vague in priority. Objective number 4, create financial mechanisms, special bonds, restaurant tax, etc. It's a want. And then again, somebody said low priority, need to get finances in order first. And then it says what resources are necessary to complete this tax, a food tax, a small food tax. How will this goal be accomplished and who will monitor it? Restaurants, food trucks, grocery stores, and little stores. Problems that may occur, very upset vendors for a little while. Possible solution, small tax, eventually growing. 3.
Okay, number 4.
Oh, 4, yeah.
Create a diverse range of recreational opportunities and spaces that support the needs and interests of all residents. Objective 1, develop a parks maintenance plan to keep current and future facilities clean. Need, want, and imperative is not really, somebody said need. Also comment of that we're already doing this, put it on the back burner. Also, this is an administrative task, not a goal. But what resources are necessary to complete this task, manpower and money? How will this be accomplished? Fix the bathroom door. I'm assuming that means the sports park, bathroom, restroom. No. Problems that may occur, vandalism and time, and nothing under solutions. Objective number 2, some said want, some said imperative. The objective is update the Parks Master Plan. And I think I'm the one that wrote, combine this with objectives 5 and 6. They all have to do with parks, so combine those objectives. What resources are necessary to complete this task? Money, community engagement, grant to pay for a plan, and someone to write grants. How will this goal be accomplished and who will monitor it? City manager, Michelle for grant development, Parks Department. Problems that may occur, lack of funds. Possible solutions, park committee should be working on this issue. Objective 3, develop parking and transportation access planning. That's was a want. Another comment was wait until after the bridge is done to work on that. What resources are necessary to complete this task? Transportation plan. How will this be accomplished? There's nothing. Problems that may occur, there's nothing. And possible solutions, there's some blank. Objective 4, additional restrooms. Assuming that means in the park. That's in its need is circled. What resources are necessary to complete this task? Money, funding. How will this goal be accomplished? Who will monitor it? City employees. Open and close with locks. Restrooms should. Problems that may occur, upkeep, vandalism and abuse, possible solutions, more porta potties at Tillamook Falls Beach Park and Lampman. Objective 5, safety of the facilities we have, install fencing. It's circled imperative. The question is where, fencing where? This goal needs more objectives, also combine it with 2 and 6. What resources are necessary to complete this task? Money, grants, general fund money, donations from fencing company. How will this goal be accomplished and who will monitor it? City manager and staff. Fencing around playgrounds for safety and Lampman. Problems that may occur, vandalism and maintenance. Solutions, there's an arrow back to donation from fencing company. Objective number 6, repair and maintain current facilities. Circled as imperative. What resources are necessary to complete this task? Money, volunteers. How will this goal be accomplished? Grants, need frozen grant released. Problems that may occur is blank. Possible solutions, money and volunteers. This one, I guess. Objective 3, develop parking and transportation. Oh, no, I did that one. Sorry, I just put it in the wrong place. Sorry.
Goal 5, strengthening city governance by updating municipal codes, policies, and procedures. Objective 1, to create a method for code enforcement. Somebody put it is both a want and a need. Must do objective 3 first is put on the notes over here. What resources are needed to complete this task? An officer or a volunteer possibly. Need to establish standards and guidelines, possibly using county guidelines. Hire an enforcement officer or a contract with court or law enforcement. What will be how will this goal be established and who will monitor it? Put standards guidelines in book form for an officer, the city's manager be involved, and possibly county code officer. What problems will occur? Ethics issues, code interpretations, and then there's noted down here that we need to update the code first. Possible solutions, seeking county and state help, creating a policy code for an enforcement officer. Objective 2, establish a clear chain of command to implement policies and procedures. Charter has accomplished part of this, it says. What resources are necessary to complete this task? There's a $sign, done with a question mark, and administrative, and none of the other boxes were filled in. Objective 3, continuing revising municipal charter and codes, imperative. What resources are necessary to complete this? Time. Volunteered to review codes and policies. Planning Commission to head this up with council liaison and public input, I think. And how will this goal be accomplished and who will monitor it? City manager and volunteers, and look at the League of City model code. Problems that may occur, understanding codes and policies. Solutions, time, dedication, passion, and posting on the city website. Number 4, improving communications with public on city codes and procedure processes. This is a need. Again, we have combined with objective 3, which was revising the charter. More town hall meetings to include the community, combined with objective 3. How will this goal be accomplished? Can do to pass out some flyers, staff information, post on city website, problems that may occur, money for flyers, possible solutions, again, more town hall meetings. That's all.
All right, well, I think it's a good start. I think there is definitely, a need for more workshops, more processing some of the information. And also me doing a better job communicating with council on some of these things too. Granted, a lot of this came out of that big group last year. And some of the things have been addressed through changes in staff and prioritization of some of the maintenance of some of our properties, the establishment of the volunteer hub, the charter amendments, but the code is still in need of updating, and only one chapter of the code falls under the Planning Commission. That's Title 17. The rest of it is building code and other things to be enforced. Master plans are official technical documents, and funding often is tied to if something is identified in a master plan. So it's not necessarily something a volunteer group can just put a master plan together. Unless you have experts who've written them and they're willing to put all that in for free. I'd love that, but it's not common. But even, and essentially a master plan is the process of us going through identifying a plan over the next however much time, 20 years, all the projects that we would need to do and what the plan to get there would be, and identifying pieces in there. And then along the way, that's kind of what dictates the things you work towards if it's in your plan. And we do have a parks plan that is needing updated according to the Parks Advisory Committee. We have a water plan that we've applied for a grant to update. But we don't have a stormwater plan, and we have a grant in process to update the transportation plan. So we're in process, which is pretty cool. But I do, we'll work on gathering this information. We'll put it in a format that we'll work on putting it into SMART goals and bringing it back to the council for the council to adopt. And that will lead into, as we are, this week, we are updating our chart of accounts, which is the individual line items in the finance software. We're taking our old chart of accounts and moving them into the new chart of accounts. And then from there, we'll be developing the budget and then going from that process. So hopefully soon we will have some things streamlined for you. So I'm looking forward to that, but these goals hopefully will drive that budget. And we'll be working on getting that back to you guys shortly. So thank you for taking part today. And looking forward to getting some things organized for you. Our next meeting is on Tuesday, April 1st. So thank you guys so much. And with that, we can be done for the day.